What's up, guys? Our Wrestling Podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious, along with Just the Total Package, Craig the British Bulldog, and Cuz, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic, the legacy of Jeff Jarrett, Part 1. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019 or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast? Jess, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. We like Double J.
He's fairly relevant now too. He's with AEW and he's having some pretty good tag matches with Jay Lethal against the
He's kind of never stopped, right?
He's in the best shape I've ever seen him in, and he's probably
shape.
besides MJF, he's like the best heel in fucking wrestling right now. Like he just understands how to make people hate him, and some people legitimately do, I think, which is great. But he knows how to get it out of them and invoke that kind of or evoke that emotion. And dude, you don't realize we're only going to do part 1. Like that's how long his career was. So we're just going to cover like 86 to
easily 10.
Yeah, we're just going to cover 86 to 2002 before the TNA days, and then after TNA, he's had another like resurgence here in 2023 and 22. So Jeff Jarrett's fucking cool, man. I really like him, and he's the son of a promoter, and that rubs people the wrong way as well. And it is what it is. Like I listen to his podcast. It's probably my favorite one now with Conrad. Bruce is way gone. But so I like Eric Bischoff's podcast with Conrad, and of the Conrad, stable. I like Eric Bischoff and I like Jeff Jarrett. So I think Jeff Jarrett, I think a lot of people should listen to Jeff Jarrett. I think that he, gets a bad rap for being like a failure all the time. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I think Jeff Jarrett kind of, I think that being part of a wrestling industry is like being part of a carnival, like you got to know when to get off the ride, and you got to know when to, repair the ride and make it fresh again. And I think Jeff Jarrett is really good. We'll talk about a lot of the times where he had no problem telling Vince, yeah, I'm leaving, fuck off.
Jeffrey Leonard Jarrett was born on July 14th, 1967 in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Doesn't Hendersonville just sound like a bunch of names crunched together?
Just the made up city. They couldn't figure out what to name it. They're like, just Hendersonville.
Hendersonville Sacks, yeah.
Son.
Veal.
It's got to be Veal. Jarrett became involved with basketball when he was in high school, but he worked for his father, Jerry Jarrett's Continental Wrestling Association, as a referee in March of 1986, and then trained as a wrestler under his father and Tojo Yamamoto. Jarrett made his first in-ring debut at the age of 18 on April 6, 1986. That's wild.
Falk is coming in right now. His opponent today is young Jeff Jarrett. Jarrett is brand spanking new as a professional wrestler. He's got a lot of filling out. Okay, Tony, okay. Tony Falk got something on his mind, and I hope it's wrestling. Let's wrestle.
What was I at that point? Were we 9 years old, I think, Jess, at that point?
Oh, no. Yeah, we are.
Jeez,
9 years old.
In 1989, his father, Jerry, purchased the Texas-based World Class Championship Wrestling, WCCW,
Young Jarrett.
and merged it with the CWA to create the United States Wrestling Association, or the USWA. Over those following years, Jarrett won the USWA Southern Heavyweight Championship on 10 occasions.
No way.
And the USWA World Tag Team Championships on 15 occasions. Yeah, that's wild.
Get out of here.
That's why people got upset. Jarrett also wrestled in the independent circuit for 7 years.
Son of the promoter won the title that many times?
Yeah. What? How's that happen?
Weird.
But Jarrett, not his dad, also wrestled on the independent circuits for 7 years, appearing in Japan and Puerto Rico.
All the best.
Then,
all the best wrestlers go to Japan and Puerto Rico.
That's what and Puerto Rico. Don't forget.
In
1990, he wrestled his first tour of Japan for Super World Sports, and in 1993, he was hired by the World Wrestling Federation. Jarrett would continue wrestling for USWA full-time until losing the championship to Jerry Lawler, letting them know on December 20th.
Opponent in this expiration of time main event action coming up on USWA Championship Wrestling. Jeff Jarrett and King Jerry Lawler. What a match. Main event anywhere in the country, and we got it for you right here on television today.
Hey, let me give you guys fair warning of one thing. Last week, you double-team me, you triple-team me, and you guys did a little pile driver on the King. Well, that's what the King is famous for, pile drivers. I'm going to show you today how to do it right.
Look out.
1993. To return sporadically for future dates.
Let in the
and there's
double
a
J
there's
now.
a
That's a lot. That's a lot to take in just a few.
there's a famous Austin story too. Austin, I guess we'll get into it like in '98 when Jarrett came back and Austin was
on
super
his
hot.
podcast.
That
Jarrett talked
yeah,
about it.
they talked about it even back in the day. It was making rounds that Austin didn't like Jarrett, and like when Jarrett re-debuted, Austin came in and stunned him and just fucking for no reason and left, and
And
people
Jarrett
were like,
talks about
"Oh,
he didn't want to work with me for some reason.
yeah." But I guess when they were wrestling for Jerry Jarrett,
Jerry Jarrett,
Jeff
yeah.
Jarrett was cutting his teeth, and Austin also wrestled for Jerry Jarrett for a while. And I
Okay.
guess Austin got a payoff one time, and he was sitting in the locker room on the bench, and he was opening up his envelope with his check in it. And Austin was pissed that it was so small, so he kept looking at it. And of course, the fucking cocky, shitty, which Jarrett didn't realize it at the time, he thought he was legitimately one of the boys, but people fucking hated him because he was Jerry Jarrett's son. So he goes behind Steve and just fucking this young piece of shit pats Steve on the back. He's like, doesn't matter how many times you look at it, ain't going to get bigger. And
Yeah,
he fucking
exactly.
leaves, and Austin's like,
No.
and Austin said that he held that fucking rage for him for years. Like he was like, I'm a fucking get you, you son of a bitch.
took it the wrong way, kid. You kind of said that. I'm staring at my paycheck, and you slapped me on the back, and you said it doesn't matter how much you look at it, it ain't gonna get any bigger.
Well,
That's why I thought you didn't want to work with me. That's why.
I thought I was trying to be that.
Yeah,
don't know,
I
this is young
apologize,
Jarrett.
Steve. I never, you know that I respect you so much to the utmost, and I would never. We should do business.
So let me manage your podcast.
They should do business. Hey man.
All right.
Yeah.
Stone Cold Jarrett at WrestleMania. I'd watch.
Uh-huh.
It probably would be good.
I would.
Jarrett's all, huh?
All right, let's jump into that
What?
World Wrestling Federation time frame for 3 years. After doing the crossover promotion between WWF and USWA in late 92 and early
Some of the greatest
93,
Vince McMahon promos ever.
Jarrett made his televised return on October 23rd of 1993 on WWF Superstars as a heel under the gimmick Double J, Jeff Jarrett, JEFF, JERRETT. A country music singer who intended to elevate his singing career.
Spend my day working
Yeah.
hard for the dough.
I have that on my
wall
playlist
keeps
in my
telling
library,
me
and it's a
no.
fucking great song.
Through that exposure,
Is it really? It really is a
song.
great song.
It's
It's
a
a
fucking
great
great
song.
song.
It's a great song.
Just the opening down.
Yeah.
That Road Dogg can sing.
Ding.
Jarrett's character would strut into the ring wearing
Jam,
flashy Double J
motherfuckers.
hats and ring attire, where he punctuated his
Spin
promos with
line.
the phrase "Ain't I great?" I think there's a lot more to that too. The Double J hat and he had the glasses that would light up, and he had the things that really pissed off Jess. It wrapped around his collar, but it was shredded.
That was like stripes.
And I was like,
Spaghetti
Ah!
straps with this. Fucking,
it just screams heel. It all screams like I'm a douchebag
great.
and you're gonna hate
great.
me. And it worked. Double J really had the gimmick, and he sold it 100%. He had his first televised match with the WWF on the December 20th, 1993 episode of Raw, defeating P.J. Walker. There's a bit of miss here, Jess. Can we talk about how long they promoted him before he came in? I mean, what did you say? His
It was weeks, yeah, and
it was
they were all
forever.
Bruce. They were all Bruce Pritchard produced, and it was just him outside of Music City or outside of a bar, just talking about how great he was, and he's going to use wrestling to catapult himself. And
but he sold that name for months. JEFF.
yeah, and at the end of the promo, it was JEFF, JA, and
I felt like, I felt
JRE.
like for
double
people
T.
who had the Go See Cal commercials
Hey,
for the
now,
car
great.
commercials.
Yes.
It was like Go See Cal, Go See Cal.
I believe it was done in the
He's
same
brilliant.
vein as those. If I remember Bruce talking about it, was done in the same vein as those, like where it was just like Jeff Jarrett, haha, the world's greatest singer, the
Yeah.
world's greatest entertainer, and you're gonna find out the world's greatest wrestler, like every fucking week. Like
Howdy, folks. Double J here again. That's JEFF, JARRETT. That's Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Got my driver here, Billy Ray Brooks. Brought me down here today in my vintage 68 Cadillac. You know, fine cars are like fine wine. They just seem to get better with age. Isn't that right, Billy Ray?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, sir. You know, O.W.P here, he takes care of his property, unlike the corrupt country music business. You know, they say proof's in the pudding. Well, I got the pudding right here. Take a look.
Yeah, Jarrett's great.
He is.
Jarrett
When
made
he
his
asks,
great-
ain't I great? He is great.
Ain't he great? Yeah, you are actually. Yeah.
He's all right. Jarrett made his pay-per-view debut in
Great.
January of 1994 at the Royal Rumble, entering that match within the 12th participant and was eliminated in less than 90 seconds by Randy Savage. Yeah.
Today, Music Man. No, not today, Music Man.
Not today,
Not
Double G. J-E-double-F, J-E-double-O.
I mean, that is
double T.
ultimate
Yeah.
heel fashion. And I bet you Double J was so happy. I just got to come in for 90 seconds and I'm going to collect the check. Ha ha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get.
The
I'm gonna
joke's
get a
on
pay-per-view.
you,
exactly the
man.
same way.
Joke's on
I'm
you.
just doing what I've always been doing.
Get the double fuck out.
Yeah. Jarrett also lost in the second round of the 1994 King of the Ring tournament, being pinned by the 1-2-3 Kid. But then
Oh,
you're going to get pinned by 60 pounds, but then you're going
Aw.
to pin 400 pounds by defeating Mabel by pinfall at SummerSlam. I
Rightfully
mean,
so.
that's a big weight distribution.
ah,
Haha, you never know how it's going to go.
that's
Around
a great
this
comeback
time,
for Double J.
Double J began a feud with the Intercontinental Champion Razor Ramon at the Royal Rumble in Tampa, Florida. Jarrett defeated Razor
So-
to win the Intercontinental Championship. That was his first one, I believe, Jess.
He got him, McMahon! Is it true? I predicted it! We got a new Intercontinental Champion! Unbelievable pride and courage on the part of Razor Ramon, but to a certain extent that may have cost him the Intercontinental Championship here tonight.
Yes,
In
it
an
was.
effort to become a dual champion, Jarrett challenged Diesel for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship in the main event, the February 2nd or 20th episode of Raw, but he lost that match there.
Oh,
So Double J is getting a lot of exposure
I
here,
tried.
working
Uh-huh.
on top or very close to the top. Obviously VKM's convinced this is the guy to work with at these levels.
it's a goddamn heater. I hate him.
What's interesting about that is, everybody hates
fucking
him.
dad.
Everybody hates him in his daddy's promotion, but he comes into WWF, and Vince obviously sees the same talent, the same level of talent.
He's fucking talent. He is talented. I don't care what anybody
That's
says.
what
Fuck.
Yeah, you get mad because he's the boss's son, but he
Yeah.
has talent, both with the mic and with the ring work. I don't understand. I think a
His
lot of people
drop
go,
kick,
"Oh, I
holy
think that
shit!
was
His
low."
drop kick was fuck, man. He used to pull that drop kick out and just fuck you right up with it.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like an
Wow.
uppercut drop kick. He would hit it so well. He
Yeah.
smack you right in the chin with it. It's amazing. The guy could work. Razor Ramon received a rematch at WrestleMania 11. Oh wow, 11.
His first best. That was Jarrett's first WrestleMania.
Wow, it seems like it should be earlier, but that's crazy. Which
It
Jarrett
was
lost
almost
by-
a little story. It was almost at 10. On WrestleMania 10, he was scheduled as part of a 10-man tag. And
And
they
they
were running
scrapped it?
short of time because someone by the name of Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon went longer in their ladder match than they should have. So they had to kick a match out, and it was the 10-man tag. So
Oh,
they booted it
wow.
out. So Jarrett's first WrestleMania was supposed to be part of a 10-man tag. So I'm glad that 11 was
So
his first
that would be
WrestleMania
that'd
because
be
he
the
got to.
question, and the answer is probably of course. But did everybody in the 10-man tag still get paid WrestleMania money even though they didn't wrestle?
Bruce said yes. And then they, on the next night on Raw, they were like one of the featured matches, and they had the match the next night on Raw. But Bruce Pritchard did on his podcast said yes, because Conrad asked that. He's like, so that's kind of fucked up. They didn't get paid. He's like, oh no, we paid them. And it's like, oh, cool. Like, yeah.
That's
And
easy
that's
to
good.
say though. I wonder if it's true.
Yeah.
But you don't get
can't-
that
probably-
Coliseum
Just
home
like, well,
video
did-
money.
He can't break out the
Wrestle? Then
books.
no. Why would I pay them? What you fucking idiot, Bruce?
Oh,
I ask you a
goodness.
question, Bruce. He's like, yeah. Why the fuck would I do that? Like,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. I'll just tell
So-
everyone when I have a podcast in 30 years that you did.
So
Whatever you
Jared
wanna do, I don't care.
Jared did lose that match at WrestleMania 11, but it was by disqualification. So he retained the Intercontinental Championship.
Ah,
So we talk about his Jarrett's first WrestleMania. He then was joined by the Roadie, with the duo losing to Razor Ramon in a handicap match at In Your House 1. I love how it's called In Your House 1.
In
It
your
was
house.
on April 26, 1995.
In your house is country.
Yep. At In Your House 2, the Lumberjacks on July 23rd of 95, Jarrett performed the song "With My Baby Tonight." That's what Craig was singing earlier, which he did a fantastic job.
Thank
Great
you.
rendition.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Later that evening, Jarrett lost the Intercontinental Championship to Shawn Babyface
That
Michaels.
might be
Spending his
that might
day
be
on
one of the
working
best
harder
matches
than
I've
the
seen
goat.
Jarrett have. Like, that's for some reason that match is so fond with me. I love that fucking match. It was
It's a good
great. And it was really, really good. And I tell if you get a chance, go back and watch it.
Go back.
But this is also where he performed the hit single "With My Baby Tonight."
Yep.
You knew he was lip syncing, but you didn't know.
Doesn't
And then,
matter.
like,
He's-
you know,
hey,
yeah,
he
it was
spent
fucking
his
really
day
awesome.
hard
or
working
not.
on the go, all right?
It was really
The
good.
hands on the clock were moving slow
Uh-huh.
That's
They
what I
were
heard.
moving slow.
because he
That's
couldn't
what I
wait to
heard.
be alone with his baby tonight.
That's right. Following the event, Jarrett left the WWF for 5
You know he
months and
wants to be
returned to
there.
the USWA. Jarrett was unhappy with creative and felt the roadie
Uh-huh.
turning on him,
Ha,
which
ha.
was booked in the storyline, was too premature, and they could work the angle for a few more months. And I think he was probably right.
1,000%.
Yeah, Jarrett and Rhodey both just walked out after the match and did not shoot a scheduled breakup segment. Well, that's just terrible. And that was a big deal back then, by the way. Just them
Yeah.
walking
So
off
what
that
happened
night.
was that Vince and Pat were pushing, like, they're like, okay, so after you lose to Shawn, you're gonna blame the roadie because, like, the way it happened is the roadie accidentally grabbed Jarrett's leg and caused Michaels to hit the super kick, and there you go. And so they were like, you're gonna split, and then we're gonna lead into a thing where you guys face each other, and then you're gonna find out that you didn't sing the song. The roadie sang the song. And Jarrett's like, what do you mean? Like, we can milk this out to WrestleMania 12 if we want to. Like, and he was like, they're like, no, Vince is like, we'll pay it off, whatever, you know, like, and it was a kind of a thing. And so Jarrett was like, okay, wait a minute. I don't have any like future creative. He asked him, so, okay, so I lost the Intercontinental title, and then the roadie's going to expose me and humiliate me. You can't tell me the roadie's not going to beat me. So, like, what happens to me afterwards? Oh, we'll see, you know. And Jarrett's like, no. And he just fucking walked out. And he talked to Road Dogg, and he was like, walk out with me. We'll go talk to my dad. You got a job in USWA. And Road Dogg was super green and new. He's like, all right. I mean, he was an Armstrong, but he was just like, okay. So, and then Jarrett
he's
now,
third generation, right?
so Jarrett nowadays, because I guess they started testing
so.
back here, and Road Dogg was a known pothead. And so and that's disrespectful. I don't mean that. But he smoked a lot of marijuana.
I'm offended by that.
saying
by the way.
saying pothead's silly. I shouldn't have said that. But I mean, like, because it's just people like the fucking. It makes them feel good. And it,
Don't explain
fucking-
yourself, buddy.
yeah,
We're good
it's
with it. We're
better.
good
It's
with
better
what you
now.
call
It's
this, all right?
2023. So you're making it worse, Jess. Shut up.
Go
So
over
I guess
explain, buddy.
Jarrett's excuse
You
was
spend your
like,
day
I
working hard on
knew
the
that
guy.
if I'm in like a profile feud with the Road Dogg and they test him, he's going to test positive and he's going to be kicked off the road. That's what he says now, which is kind of bullshit. Jarrett was really just looking out for himself, which is fine because in pro wrestling, if you don't, who's gonna? The promoter's not going to. He was the son of a promoter, so he fucking knew very well, like, when someone takes a title off you and then you get also further humiliated, like, he's like, what you're not going to do anything with me. I'm done. So I guess he was just like, fuck it. So he went and sat in his dad's hot tub, literally, as the story goes afterwards, when someone called Jerry Jarrett going,
You
your
just
son
gotta
fucking
show
walked
that
out. He's
off.
like, yeah.
My
He's
dad's
like, well, my
hot tub.
son's right here. You know, he's like, my son's right here. And so I guess, like, yeah, that was the whole thing with Vince.
And going into it, I'm like, I don't think they're still not going to go for this.
So what are you talking, Brian's staying with you. So what are you talking to him about? Hey man, we're going to go do our job and then we're going to quit.
Yeah. I basically said, Brian, I what's your thoughts? And he's like, hell, I don't know. What do you want to do? I'm like, look, the only thing I know to do is once we shoot the angle, it's game, set, match. Now that's incorrect as I sit here today. But at that time is when we pull the trigger, look, the title is inconsequential to our storyline. Our storyline's between us. Let's just because I went to the well again on Sunday. I'll never forget. I'm standing on stage with Vince, and we're going over the performance. And Vince, can we reconsider this? I really don't think we should do this. No. I mean, he really didn't even give me the time of day.
But as Dave's going to read on, he did come back because he had to serve out the rest of his contract. And Vince let him come back or whatever. But his whole thing was like, you could have milked me and the Road Dogg for like 6 months and had a payoff match at WrestleMania, which I would have lost. But
it's also interesting because Double J knew that the angle had to be. There's no way that Vince was going to waste the angle. So he knew he's probably like, oh, in my mind, he has to bring me back, and if he doesn't, I still got USWA. So Double J always had leverage in that.
Exactly. I think that's probably the most important phrase in his career.
It can be made, right? That's what Jeff Jarrett was like. You can make money.
Yeah.
Who else did what? Brock Lesnar, Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Jarrett, this was like Jarrett's first mini walkout, and they were supposed to do this whole thing where after he wakes up from the super kick, the roadie's like, I'm sorry. And then Jarrett pushes, and then the roadie finally turns on him and like is like, whatever, it was me and whatever. And they were supposed to film a backstage vignette where the roadie says it's me that sang the song and blah, blah, blah. And they were going to blow it all right there. And I guess they didn't. They rolled right outside the ring. Jarrett's like, come on. They went right to Jarrett's car and took the fuck off. And and they were gone.
As long as there's logic behind the walkout, hey, that's understandable.
As long as they booked their walkout properly, it's fine.
They booked it. Yeah, well, it worked out because Jarrett returns to the WWF at In Your House 5 on December 17th, 1995, feuding with Ahmed Johnson. That's terrible.
Actually, now that you say that a lot, I'm like, Vince is trying to punish him.
Yeah, Jarrett lost to Johnson by disqualification at the 1996.
He sure to botch on his ass
and left the WWF shortly thereafter due to a contract dispute again. Later that year, the roadie revealed that he had in fact sung "With My Baby Tonight" and that Jarrett had been lip syncing, and that's when Double J takes his ball and runs it over to World Championship Wrestling in 1996.
Where are we starting? World Championship Wrestling?
There you go. Yeah, hit it, buddy.
October 1996, Jarrett was hired by WCW, signing a 1-year contract. Upon debuting in WCW, Jarrett became a free agent, in quotes, in the rivalry between the Four Horsemen and the New World Order. Who would select Jeff Jarrett? So this leads to whether Jeff Jarrett was actually a horseman, right? And then Flair said you're absolutely not a horseman. But Jarrett still says he was a horseman, right? In mid-1997, Jarrett was kicked out of the Four Horsemen and began feuding with Steve. So he's gone from Ahmed Johnson to Steve Mongo McMichael.
I mean, what's the difference?
You gotta cut your teeth, brother. You gotta cut your teeth.
Other than
That's tough.
That's where he finds his wife.
Because we're not to jump ahead, but in his little shoot interview, he complains about having to work with Ahmed Johnson and Steve McMichael, who he said didn't even know how to lock up when he was yelling at Vince in the middle of the ring when he debuted. Ha ha ha. Despite aligning himself with McMichael's then wife, Deborah McMichael, Jarrett lost the United States Heavyweight Championship on August 21st. His contract expired in October. He opted to return to the WWF. Just a guy that likes to go back and forth like a ping pong ball, despite the dominance of WCW and the ongoing Monday Night Wars.
Well, and he was smart too. He only signed like 1-year deals. And he's just like,
Well, he kept us on the edge too. He didn't answer the NWO question until later. So I love that.
Yeah. And then Jarrett even said too, like towards the end, it was the same thing. It was like, okay, cool. Like if you pay me off and I'm not a horseman, I guess the whole payoff was supposed to be, he was supposed to face Flair. So the whole thing was supposed to be Jarrett and Flair at the end. Cause like Jarrett would get mad and Flair would finally say, you know what? You're not horseman material. What? For the last year, I fucking fought for you and did this and stuck up for you. And then it would be Jarrett and Flair. But again, after that, Flair would go over and then he asked Bischoff what next. And Bischoff's like, I don't know. I don't know anything really. Like I'll just sign whoever because you're a good name. And then he was like, all right, cool. So then he contacted WWF and he was like, I kind of want to come back.
All right, Dave.
Oh, God. I got you. World Wrestling Federation in 97 and 99. Jarrett returned to the WWF on the October 20th, 1997 episode of Raw is War. Delivering a worked shoot speech in which he criticized both WCW President Eric Bischoff and WWF Chairman Vince McMahon. Well, that's fun.
We have company. Yes, we do. We have a visitor. And he was not expected to join us.
Sorry, Vince, I know you wanted the big introduction. You wanted to be standing up here beside me, but I've got something to say, and I'm going to say it right now. Last week, on Monday Nitro, Jeff Jarrett was declared everything but dead. Since I refuse to accept Eric Bischoff's offer and re-sign with WCW, he did everything within his power to bury me. Being the coward that he is, he even hid behind his computer and announced to the whole world that he had pulled the offer off the table.
After briefly feuding with The Undertaker, Jarrett defeated Barry Windham to win the vacant NWA North American Heavyweight Championship. Wow. That's really? That seems hidden. That seems odd in like in a weird space. Because Barry was there for like a minute, right?
It was awful.
But
Yeah,
it
he
was
was back
awful.
with the new blackjacks and all that stuff.
But he
Yeah,
had
he
the
did.
NWA North American Heavyweight Champion in the WWF.
Yeah, Jim Cornette brought it back, and they were
Yeah.
trying to, you know, they were trying to like bring back old school wrestling or whatever. That was like Cornette's thing, and it just sucked. Like, and Jarrett was in a weird singlet, like, and everything like that was really weird. And he put his hair in a
I
ponytail.
feel Cuz is going to talk about if it comes out of the box, it's got to be over speech.
No.
Okay. In 1998, Jarrett joined forces with Jim Cornette and his stable of invading National Wrestling Alliance.
But I still hate Meltzer.
And began defending the North American Heavyweight Championship on
An NWA invasion? Oh, I don't remember this.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad.
I do.
I hate it.
In March, Jarrett left Cornette's stable, and Cornette stripped him of the title and awarded it to Windham. Jarrett
And
went
what
on his
happens when all that falls on its face and falls flat? Next sentence.
Jarrett went on to reprise his country music singer gimmick on the March 1998 edition of Monday Night Raw, introducing Tennessee Lee as his new manager at Unforgiven in Your House on April 26, 98. Jarrett once again sang alongside Sawyer Brown with their hit single, Some Girls Do. Jess, I'm sure you got a clip right.
Some girls don't, and some girls do. Some girls do.
Because I want to be home with my girl.
On the June 1st, 1998 edition of Raw, Tennessee Lee introduced Southern Justice, formerly known as the Godwins.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wow. I remember the Godwins. I don't remember them as Southern Justice.
They're your new bodyguards. Yeah.
I think that's when they came out. Remember the song that Jarrett would come out with Deborah? Bam.
Yeah.
Bam.
It was a down,
I think that's
down,
when
yeah,
that
it was
actually
like
got introduced.
I love how there's just
They're
a
Southern
quick
Justice.
comment that Jarrett grew a flavor saver at this time. Just by the way, he grew
That's when he
grew
became
a
edgy.
goatee
Flavor
here.
saver.
Well, it was right
Yeah.
before he joined up with Owen Hart, you know? So this when he became edgy with the short hair Jarrett. And
I love Owen
Yeah.
Hart, and I never
Well, it
wanna
was
make
before
fun
it was
of him.
before the hair came off, but yeah, he grew a goatee first,
Yep.
and then he would start wearing it in a ponytail a lot.
Sure.
Do you-
And sunglasses.
do you
Come out
think- do you
sunglasses.
think
Yeah,
Owen-
when he
Yeah.
was
Do
pissed.
you think Owen could have grown
Slap
a
nuts.
goatee? I'm not sure. He, felt
He
as
did for a
baby
little bit.
face as they come. I don't
It'd
think
be
Owen
rough.
could grow any facial hair. I'm not sure why. Never saw Owen with facial hair. I don't think. Did you guys ever see Owen Hart with facial
Yeah, I
hair?
think when he was the black heart.
When he was the nugget, when he was the nugget,
Yeah,
The black heart.
he had the goatee. A little bit.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, he grew it. I mean,
I'm gonna go check that out now. On the August 9th, 1998 edition of Sunday Night Heat, Jarrett fired Tennessee Lee after he had inadvertently cost Jarrett multiple matches in the preceding weeks. Jarrett and Southern Justice then began feuding with D-Generation X, with Jarrett losing to DX member X-Pac in a hair versus hair match at SummerSlam. So that's where the hair comes off. Finally, the long hair is gone. Jarrett's hair was
I'm mad.
subsequently cut short by DX and Howard. Oh, Howard Finkel helped out. That's great.
Dennis Knight tried to Martin McGuire X-Pac. No! Oh, man! No, what a shot! Referee! Stop! No! It's over! No! He hit the guitar! Oh! Here come the Outlaws! They're going to make sure that the hair cutting goes down or comes off!
That's why he got
actually,
out.
and kind of an underrated match, the Jarrett and X-Pac match at SummerSlam.
Oh, I'm
was
sure
really
it's
good.
pretty good. That's good stuff. Jarrett and Southern Justice were defeated by DX at Breakdown in September. The trio had separated shortly thereafter. Jarrett briefly feuded with Al Snow before reuniting with Deborah, who had left WCW for the WWF, and forming a tag team with Owen Hart. Hart and Jarrett were close friends and travel partners for years, so the team gelled almost immediately. Those guys, the pranks must have been endless, I would think.
Oh, dude.
Owen was bad enough,
Owen
and then you
Hart,
you throw
Owen.
Jarrett in the mix. That sounds dangerous.
He deserved to go, haha.
Jarrett and Hart,
He's a great rib.
Jarrett and Hart won the WWF Tag Team Championships from Ken Shamrock and the Big Boss Man. Wow, that's a weird mix. Successfully defending the titles at WrestleMania 15 in 1999 before losing to Kane and X-Pac on an episode of Raw. 8 days after Hart died in a stunt, I always hard reading this, that went wrong on Over the Edge, Jarrett defeated the Godfather, who Owen was scheduled to face in the pay-per-view for the Intercontinental Championship. As he was handed the title belt, he yelled Hart's name in tribute to his friend. That's nice. Jarrett's got the moments. And I don't like to talk about that too much. I think it's always hard when we talk about Owen Hart, even to this day. It's hard on a lot of people on this podcast, if not everyone. So, in mid-1999, Jarrett exchanged the Intercontinental Championship with Edge and D'Lo Brown on 2 more occasions. His 5th reign broke Razor Ramon's record from 1995. He held the record until Chris Jericho's 7th reign in 2004. Jess, I think we should stop there. That's a big deal. It's a really big deal.
I didn't even really realize that Jarrett held the record that long.
That's a long time.
Somebody would have broken it before
you're getting close to a 10-year reign on that record. And when Razor did it for a 4th time, it was literally obviously unheard of, but like nobody was caring. I mean, that was broken after years and years of people trying to get there. So that's huge. In the months that followed, Jarrett became increasingly abusive towards Deborah. Kayfabe, right? We're making sure this is not in the back. Jarrett challenged D'Lo Brown for both the WWF European and Intercontinental Championships, with Deborah accompanying Brown to the ring following an argument with Jarrett. Did D'Lo do well with her in the corner? Guess not, because he lost the match.
Kind of forgettable, honestly.
Yeah. After both Mark Henry and Deborah turned on him, making Jarrett the second ever Euro Continental Champion. Who was the first, Jess? Who was the first Euro Continental?
With the guitar! And the referee didn't see it! No! This is not right! And Jeff Jarrett has won 2 titles!
Oh, fuck, it might have been D'Lo.
Looking at the real deal now.
That's a trivia that would have stumped.
You said Angle did it. But you said Angle did it in 2000.
Yeah, Angle did it in 2000.
Then he was the first, because this is like 0405.
Yep.
No.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong line. So this is late 90s.
All right,
okay.
check it out.
This is 99.
The term Eurocontinental Champion is of European and Intercontinental used to describe the wrestlers who held both titles simultaneously. 3 wrestlers accomplished this feat. The first was D'Lo Brown. Get up, Jamie.
And that was the legacy of the Eurocontinental Championship.
Yeah, that's it.
Follow us on social media.
Yep. On the following episode of Raw, Jarrett rewarded Deborah and Henry by giving Deborah an assistant, Miss Kitty, and Henry handed Henry the European Championship. Fantastic.
There you go.
In late 1999, Jarrett began feuding
value
with
title.
China over the Intercontinental Championship. I smell another walkout. In the course of the feud, Jarrett became somewhat misogynistic, attacking numerous females, including both wrestlers and actress Sydney Margulis, and executing the figure 4 leg lock on the women. That's terrible. We don't see this anymore.
This is stupid. I can't even make jokes. Just read on. This is bullshit. I can't make jokes right now because I have to add all of them out. It's fucking stupid. I want to do Jarrett voice right
Jarrett
now.
eventually abandoned Deborah in favor of Miss Kitty after he and Deborah were defeated by Stephanie McMahon and Test in a mixed tag match. He later also turned on Miss Kitty after she lost a match that Jarrett had inserted her into his place. Jarrett left the WWF in October of 1999, right after WWF head writer Vince Russo resigned from the WWF in order to join WCW. Jarrett's contract expired on October 16th of 1999, one day before his scheduled match with China at No Mercy.
So was he close with Vince Russo? Well, is that why he left? Because of Russo? Or
People
no?
want to say that. Like, Vince Russo produced him a lot, so they got along because, like, Jarrett did turn his whole attitude around. He cut his hair, he got his short hair, put the sunglasses on, wore different types, completely changed himself. And Russo,
match. That's what you do.
Yeah, and Russo was producing him.
Jarrett's contract
it's okay to hate
literally
women, bro.
ran out the day before he was supposed to wrestle China at No Mercy for the IC Championship on the line, but he still wrestled her nonetheless, and he lost the Intercontinental Championship to China. I think this is another reason probably why Jarrett wasn't going to resign.
It certainly is. I guess it is. I don't know. Referee down the count. And Turner.
unfortunately. And
it's the same exact thing. It's the same exact record. It's funny that he's a quote unquote musician in his character. It's the same thing he said. All right. So I guess what Jim Ross was head of talent relations. He knew his contract was coming up. He kept asking Jim Ross, like, when are you going to resign me? I want more money. Like, and then they put him in the China gimmick. And he was like, look, if I'm going to be like, hitting women and stuff in the storyline, it's going to culminate with China beating me. That's fine. Like, he had no problem jobbing to China, contrary to popular belief. It was not an issue with him. But he's like, what do I do after that? So I lose to a woman in a good housekeeping match. What do I do? Like, what are you going to do with me afterwards? And Jim Ross is like, oh, we'll do that, whatever. We'll re-sign you, and then we'll figure that out. And he's like, well, then I want more money. And Jim Ross is like, well, I don't know. And, we're kind of going to keep you where you're at kind of thing. And I think Jarrett hated that. So he's like, well, now I'm going to leave again. And he knew it right then.
Yeah.
And then, so I guess Jim Ross never followed up after that. So when it was getting closer and closer and closer to him resigning, you would think that and Jarrett even thought, if I was a value talent, they would have absolutely known that my shit was expiring, and they would have stopped that from expiring, and they would have talked to me before that. But no one approached him after that. So I guess he was like, well, fuck Jim Ross if he doesn't want to fucking value me or whatever. So when he went to lose to China, he's like, actually, my contract expires the day before, and I'm not going to resign. So he's like, I want all of my money that you owe me, because WWF was famous for paying late. So if you wrestled in a pay-per-view, you wouldn't get that payoff till like 4 months later, because WWF had to get the pay-per-view money from the cable companies and then distribute it.
So it wasn't technically late. They had to wait on everything to come through so they could see what they owed.
To this day, Jarrett's like, I only asked for all of my monies owed. I never asked for anything. I wanted a check cut for me that night for all my merchandise money and all my pay-per-view money for the last 2 pay-per-views I hadn't been paid for yet, which was like over $200,000. So he's like, I want a check for that, because I'm telling you right now, I'm not resigning. So you should have a check for me. Oh, no, we'll pay you. No, you're going to pay me. Now you're going to drag my shit out. I won't see this shit for a year. So he's like, you need to pay me right now. So I guess Vince said, okay. Vince wrote the check. Jarrett swears up and down that there was no bad blood between them. It just ran rampant in the stories and the dirt sheets and all that stuff.
And Vince will never tell you. I hate to say
that he walked out on Vince and all that. He's like, I did not. I asked for the money that I was owed, and I didn't resign because they didn't have any good. And Jim Ross just stopped calling me. So
for the bad blood that you're talking about, China alleges that Jarrett and Russo had colluded in order to delay the title defense until Jarrett's contract had expired, and that then they made a deal with Vince for $200,000 in order to wrestle without a contract.
Which Jeff Jarrett said that was just Jeff Jarrett said that's not.
He said he'd only been paid by the WWF. He had an interview in 2008 for a TNA special. He stated not only were the negotiations in good faith and cordial, but he also got stock options from the IPO of WWF, which occurred 2 days after he left, which was all part of the arrangement. And then on his podcast, he explained that the departure had nothing to do with Russo initially, but he did give shaky answers about the creative direction and losing to China and resigning. But just talked about this earlier. Once he just wasn't getting a call back from Jim Ross, he's like, well, then I'll call Russo. Russo's got a spot over in WCW, so I'll just go there. And it was an real easy kind of transition from that. Because like I said, they've been working together. Their creative was
funny how people do that all the time in the territories, but because Jarrett, he does the job to a woman, which that sounds harsh me saying that, but he does the job to a woman. He does everything he says he's going to do, and he just wants his money's owed. But people are like, at the time, the internet was gaining more steam, and it was more, sexy to have a nice scandalous story or whatever.
Well, you can have more fake dirt than there was.
People did it all the time in territories and left and jobbed out and left and did what they were supposed to do, and nobody said anything. It was just. But if Jarrett wants to do it, it was like, no, you did it because your buddy Russo went over. He's like, no, I didn't have a future and I was going to leave because my money would dry up here. So I decided to go.
Back to WCW from 99 to 01. Jarrett returned in October of 99 for an episode of Monday Nitro, attacking Buff Bagwell and proclaiming himself the chosen one of WCW. Jarrett took part in a tournament for the vacant WCW World Heavyweight Championship, winning his first 3 matches with the assistance of Creative Control. Mayhem. He was eliminated from the tournament after losing his semifinal match to Chris Benoit. The day after Starrcade of 99 on Nitro, Jarrett defeated Chris Benoit to win the WCW United States Championship. And then Jarrett had reformed the NWO with WCW World Heavyweight Champion Bret Hart and the reigning WCW World Tag Team Champions Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, with the foursome calling themselves NWO 2000.
Wow. What a dumpster fire. That does not sound good.
It sounds really bad. How many times was Bret Hart champion in WCW?
Champion.
I think at least once.
I thought it was twice, but
might have been twice. But
Jess, what was your favorite memory of NWO 2000?
When they stopped calling themselves NWO 2000.
I thought you were gonna say when WCW closed down. Sorry, that's way after, but sorry. In early 2000, Jarrett feuded with the WCW commissioner Terry Funk, whose horse was sick. I'm just kidding, and forced him to wrestle 3 veterans: George Steele, Tito Santana, and Jimmy Snuka in one night. That sounds horrific. Jarrett was stripped of the United States Heavyweight Championship after suffering a concussion during his bout with Snuka, but the title was returned to him by Nash after he became WCW commissioner. What a bunch of...
Was that a kayfabe concussion, or is that the way that he got stripped of the title when he wrestled the vets? I don't remember.
No, he legitimately got a concussion from fucking Snuka. Snuka splashed him from the top of the cage, and Jarrett's back of his head thwacked the back of the mat, and it gave him a legit concussion.
It was, as far as physical, and I've had the back injury, it turns out to be definitely the worst day at the office. It was because my head just smacked back, and Benoit came off. I don't remember any of that, but I just remember getting to the back and came in the dressing room. Mark Johnson came in, and I was unlacing my boots, kind of like the standard, if you will, that, okay, going through the motions, I'm going to know that. And he said, "Man, you all right?" And I said, "Man, I don't think I am. Turn those lights off." And he just thought that was odd because we were in a little bitty kind of dressing room. It's like the officials' room or whatever it may be. He's like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, just turn the lights off for a second." Because my eyes were skint, and then my head just started ringing. And I'm like, all right, I got to get in the shower.
He talked about it on his podcast. He was fucked up for a while, from that.
Wow.
So following Hart's retirement, the NWO 2000 had disbanded. Thanks so much for that, Goldberg. And April, WCW was rebooted by Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo, with all titles vacated as a result. Bischoff and Russo also created the New Blood, a stable of younger wrestlers who feuded with the Millionaires Club, made up of the older members of the WCW roster. Jarrett joined the New Blood, even though he's not New Blood. At a spring stampede of April 16, 2000, he defeated Millionaires Club member Diamond Dallas Page to win the vacant WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Dude,
I'm tired of these old guys winning everything, right, everybody? That's why I'm with the New Blood.
I'm tired of these old guys. Page regained the title on April 24th, and then on April 25th, the title was contested in a tag team match, pitting Jarrett and Bischoff against Page and actor David Arquette. This is when David Arquette won the WCW World Heavyweight Championship after pinning Bischoff. Okay, this is terrible, but I will say, David Arquette loves wrestling. He's still wrestling to this day. There's a great documentary on it.
It wasn't his fault. He even told David Arquette said many times,
I don't want to win it.
I did not want to win the title. When they told me, he's like, I don't think that's a good idea.
Because
and
I think he really respected the craft. He's like,
yeah, they're like, no, it'll be great. It's a stunt. People will get it. And so he's like, okay. And then when people didn't get it and they wanted to kill him,
he was like, I told you.
This is fucking sucks, man.
Yeah. I feel bad for Arquette because I think he's an actor that just kind of wanted to get in the business, really. And that's hard to do. It's easier now, it seems like. A lot of actors and entertainers are getting into the business now. But
yeah, David Arquette was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, true.
Trendsetter, David Arquette coming up.
Trendsetter, yeah. You know what? That's actually not a bad one. That's
nice. Trendsetter for celebrities.
Yeah. There you go. On assembly at May 7th, Jarrett defeated Page and Arquette in a 3-way triple cage match. that's a mouthful. To win his second WCW World Heavyweight Championship after Arquette turned on Page.
Swerve, bro. You fucking fell for it, bro. I brought my buddy over here after taking him away from the WWF. China was right. I fucking faked all of it. And now he's the champion. Now what? Swerve.
Jarrett feuded with Nash and Hulk Hogan throughout June 2000. And on July 9th at Bash at the Beach, he faced Hogan for the World Championship on the line. The match ended swiftly after Jarrett immediately had laid down, allowing Hogan to rest a boot on his chest and win the title.
Look, from the beginning, in my opinion, Hogan and Russo are oil and water. And what I say by that is Hogan was raised in, I'm going to answer to Eddie Graham. I'm going to answer to Vern Gagne. I'm going to answer to Jerry Jarrett. I'm going to answer to Inoki, Baba, or, Inoki. I'm going to answer to Vince. So Hogan, being old school as old school can get in a lot of ways, and Vince had the delivery period that I knew that was oil and water, just in discussion.
With Hogan commenting, that's why this company is in the damn shape it's in, because of bullshit like this.
Because of bullshit like this, brother.
Jarrett was involved in like just the David Arquette thing and this Hogan thing. Poor Jarrett. Like he's just like, listen, man, I just want to win the fucking world title.
I just want to work.
It's all
just fucking everywhere.
What's the opposite of this doesn't work for me, brother? It's that's why this company's in the shape it's in, because of bullshit like this.
Bullshit like this. Yeah, he didn't create similar bullshit. Just saying.
My favorite part about Hogan is just I didn't do that. I'm like, you did all of it. Actually, you did all of it. You did all of it.
I didn't fake a neck injury.
I did because
I want to put Jarrett over, brother.
Whoa! Like everything blows up. Hall and Nash just start sitting out on their contracts. They realize they get a downside guarantee, and Hogan's like, I don't know. How did that happen?
Brother,
it's like, I wonder why.
Brother.
I wonder how that happened. You dick.
Brother. Man. All right.
I didn't tell Nick Patrick to count fast. I didn't tell him to do a real. I don't know what happened. What brother?
Right, brother. Vince Russo subsequently came to the ring and delivered a profanity-laced statement in which he accused Hogan of politicking and claimed that Hogan had used his creative control to refuse to lose to Jarrett.
Sentence.
Factory reset on WCW, bro.
Jarrett would wrestle Booker T for the official WCW World Heavyweight Championship later that night. Booker T won the match, and Hogan did not appear in WCW again. It is disputed whether the situation was a shoot, a work, or some combination of the two. I talked to Jess about this years ago. I'm like, Jess, how can you tell me? Like, and you're like, well, it seems like he's really genuinely pissed, but no one's really sure. Nobody really knows,
bro.
No one will ever know, bro.
He worked himself into a shoot. Okay,
bro.
To this day, people are still talking about it, bro. Win for Vinny Roo.
Booker T's the world champion! Booker T's the champ! I can't believe it!
He came to the building, fighting one man. He fought the champion. He won the gold. He is the top man in this sport. He caught him with the bookend. Look at the man standing in the Raven Elite with Booker T, the world heavyweight champion.
Oh my goodness. In
Did we discuss it backstage? Was Hogan in on it?
I guess you'll never know.
He worked himself into a shoot on the bro.
What?
We'll hear it on Russo's deathbed when nobody cares. In 2001, Jarrett and Steiner became members of the Magnificent Seven, a large stable headed by Flair. Flair and Jarrett feuded with Dusty.
It's terrible.
Dustin Rhodes.
You guys want 7 people?
Yeah, when WCW was then.
You guys want 7 of us?
That's when.
He's just
drunk
in the back.
Main event mafia, bro.
So
4 Horsemen is good, but what if you add 3 more, bro?
Russo, you want 7?
7. You want
just
7?
Drunk in the corner. I'll do 7 if you want 7. Give me Road Warrior Animal. We'll do 7.
All right. So since WWF picks up the WCW for a measly like $2.5 million, if I got that right, they were uninterested in Jarrett, so the WWF neglected to acquire his contract, leaving him without a job. And on the March 26th episode of WWF's Raw program, which coincided with the final episode of Nitro, company owner Vincent Kennedy McMahon was seen watching Jarrett within the WCW venue on a television set, mocking Jarrett's trademark of distinctly spelling out his name. McMahon stated that Jarrett would be capital G O O E gone. That's not nice.
I remember that too.
But he did.
Now, as far as The Jeff Jarretts of the world are concerned? You know how Jeff spells his name? That's Jeff. Well, you know what? I would suspect that we'd spell it a different way after tonight. That would be capital G, double O, double N, double E. Gone.
He did have a pretty decent career though in NWA, TNA. What's up? What's up, buddy?
I was just gonna say we can edit this out if we want, but if this is part one, shouldn't we save this for part two?
I think it's just.
No,
It's really
I
brief,
wanted to
isn't
wet
it?
the whistle for TNA, and then I wanted to end it because, like,
Oh.
really, like
Yeah.
what they've been talking about on Conrad's podcast. I didn't even know about like we'll talk about it in part two, but like the betrayal that happened when they first started the company. Their original investor fucking lied and fudged the numbers. And like fucking, they almost went out of business, and that's how he met the Carter family. So like that's like the beginning like of TNA. But
All right.
I kind of
Just
wanted to
wanna make
wet the whistle. He went to TNA here and
right.
decided to. So Vince was pretty
Yeah.
much just like,
intro into the TNA.
because Conrad's like, what were you thinking? Did anybody call you from WWF and said we're going to do a segment where Vince does the double G, double O, double gone thing? And Jarrett, he's like, dude, the wrestler in me and the promoter's son is like, dude, he's going to reference my old catchphrase. He's going to bring me up specifically on the Cell episode of WCW and reference me and say I'm gone. He's like, I'm feuding with Vince McMahon. Yeah. And then he's like, and then he stopped and thought, like, nobody remembers like me leaving in 99. Nobody cares. He's like, he just did it to do it. And that's when Jarrett's like, is Vince pissed at me? It was so funny because he's like, I didn't do anything. That's when he said, he's like, I think that like just bullshit got back to Vince because Bruce, this whole time, Bruce said, I hated Jarrett after he left because he kept leaving all the time. He left in 95. He left again in 96. He left all the time. And so Bruce didn't like him for that. So Bruce was always in Vince's ear going, that fucking piece of shit, like, stop giving him chances. So I guess finally, when they got in Vince's ear going, just fucking fire him on television, do the double G, double O, double whatever. And then so he did it. But, you know, poor Jeff Jarrett at home, he's like, oh, hell yeah, I'm feuding with man, the biggest heel in wrestling. Like, no, he really fucking said, you're never coming here like ever again. And he meant it. And Jarrett's like, what did I do? Like, so it's kind of crazy. Like, they, man, like, you know, and it was really good. So TNA had some good stuff. If he didn't say, I'm going to put a lot of my money on the line to just have a second promotion that they can go to, even if I'm a distant second, it doesn't matter. We need something. They eventually got on Spike Television. They did a lot of good stuff, which we'll cover in part two. But man, like, yeah. But his first half of his career and just Jeff Jarrett's run here in the WWE, WWF, like intercontinental champion multiple times, tag team champion, European champion. Like he was awesome. Like
I was going down the list just on Wikipedia. I haven't seen a list of accolades nearly as long on championships for any wrestler like Jeff's.
And he won the USWA title 98 and a half times. 98 and a half times.
Tag team champion 87 million times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's awesome. Like Jeff Jarrett is great. And we're not even done. We're doing the first half. We have all of TNA, which he was in TNA for over a decade and wrestled people like, just to wet everyone's whistle, people like Kurt fucking Angle that came over there, Booker T. He wrestled AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. Like, you know, he had a fun feud with Kurt Angle
did
later.
Christian get a chance to cut his teeth with him over there too?
Yeah, Christian went over there and wrestled him. Sting and Jarrett. Like, man, you know, it's just so many great things that we'll talk about in part two. Flair and Hogan came in when Jarrett was kind of still sort of in there, not really. He got pushed out. That's the other controversy we'll talk about in part two. How about the Carter family pushed Jarrett out of his own company? Right? Yeah. So Jay Lethal, that's where we got to know Sonjay Dutt, like all kinds of like people, man, like so much great shit over there. Like
that's awesome.
Aha.
All right.
Tomko.
Well, I guess we'll cut it there. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019 or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. For the O.W.P, this is Dave, Jess, Krieg, and Cuz signing off. Have a good one.